Hi everyone, I'm Gaurav and welcome to day 31 where we'll be continuing with the e-commerce app and we'll be learning about Firebase authentication today. We'll allow um, user management using Firebase authentication. We'll log in using some credentials and we'll also sign up and we'll work on completing the add to cart functionality. We'll work on the cart page, and this is what is planned for today. I hope you guys are excited. Let's get started with today's session. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is we'll work on the styling for this. Let's fix the styling for this header. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that we will be doing is um, so this is the app bar, and let's add some padding for this. So we'll say padding in the vertical direction. We'll set that to 1. Okay, and so we have some sufficient space available over here. Then in the toolbar, we will say that uh, it is a flex container. Okay, so display flex, and we'll specify a gap of 2. Okay, so there is some gap between all of these. Okay, so this is what we wanted to do over here. Then what we want to do is when we click on this, right, this should be clickable. This should be a clickable link. So let's work on that functionality so that it always takes us to the default page for this application. And for that, what we will do is we will create a style component over here. So we'll call it as styled link equals styled. Okay, and we'll pass it the link that we're getting from React router. So let's import that. Hang on a sec, I think it's already there. So let's just import it from here. Okay, and we'll pass that link component here. And then what we want to do is we want to give this some styling. So let's copy this syntax, and here let's specify some properties. So what we want to say over here is that the color we will give as theme dot palette dot common dot white, and for the and then we will specify that the text decoration, it should be set to none, and inside our component over here we will use the styled link. We'll move this text in here, and we'll be passing the same properties that a regular link would have. So over here we'll say that this should take us to the home route. Okay, so let's see if this is working. So we have this pointer now, and whenever we click on this, it should take us to the home route. And additionally, let's go inside the home page, And let's add some padding for the card. So we will say padding theme dot spacing. We'll use this function and we'll only give a padding towards the top and the bottom, and for the left and right we'll leave it to 0. Okay, so there is some padding coming over here now, as you can see. And now what we will do is we'll start working on the cart view for this. So whenever we click on this button, it should take us to the cart page. Okay, so let's work on that now. In order to do that, what we will be doing is creating a page for that. Cart dot not okay. So the page is already there. um, let's add a route for it. So let's go inside app, and we have the routes as well. Fine, so the route is also defined. What we need to do is we just need to go inside the header, and we'll just add a link for the cart. All right, so whenever we click on this button, right, on click of this, we want to navigate to the cart page. So we will say navigate to cart. Let's create a function with the same name, function navigate to cart, and we will use a hook const navigate equals use navigate from React Router DOM, and we will specify that we want to navigate to the cart page when we click on this button. Okay, let's see what happens. We are clicking on this and it's taking us to the cart page. There is this semicolon appearing. Let's get rid of that. Where did we define the routes? At the home page. So this is coming from here. Let's get rid of this. And the next thing that we want to do is let's create the UI for showing all the products which we have added to our cart. All right. Okay, so let's go inside cart.jsx, and here what we will be doing is we'll we'll add two grids. The first part of the grid will be reserved for showing each individual items, and the next grid will be used for displaying the total of all the products. I mean the total for all the items which have been added in the cart. Okay, all right, so let's do that over here. So for that we'll import container from material UI slash container, and we'll be also needing a grid, so let's import that as well. And apart from that, I think let's start with this and then we'll add more items as needed. So here let's add a container, and let's give this padding in the vertical direction. Let's make this as 8. And then what we want to do is we want to make use of the grid component which is coming from material UI. All right, so this is our main grid, so we need to specify the container attribute, and for each items which come inside the grid, we make use of the item prop. And let's see how to define a grid. Okay, and here we will be having a grid as well. And since this is an item inside the grid, we make use of the item attribute. All right. Okay. Then what we want to do is we want to be able to display all the cart items, right? So we'll create a variable cart items, and we'll get the cart from the state which we have stored inside Redux. So we'll just get that state, and then when within the state we want the cart, and we want the value of the cart. All right. So this is coming from the cart slice which we have defined over here, right? So we have the initial state, the value is an empty array, and this is what we want to do here, right? We want to fetch the cart items, and what we are looking to do over here is that we have one grid item. We'll use that for displaying all of the uh, you know products which have been added. And right now let's just do this much, that we will say tree um, json dot stringify. We will specify the cart items over here, and we want to pretty print this, so we'll use a spacing of 2. Okay. So far only one item has been added to the cart, right? So we have the product and the quantity. Let's display this properly now, and let's do one thing. We have this for the what do you say, for the for displaying the items. Then we have another section for uh, displaying the subtotal. All right. So I will just add that over here. So we will also import the typography typo, okay, from material UI, and let's say typography variant equals h4, and we want to display the text subtotal over here. Okay, so this is coming up over here. All right, let's style this now. And let's get rid of this. What we want to do over here is we want to have uh, a series of items, right? So this is a child of this, and within this, once again, we will have more grid items. So this is the container for the other grid items which will come in here. So what we will do is we loop through all the cart items. So we'll have cart items, or rather let's just rename this to cart only. We'll say cart question mark dot map. We want to loop through all the items in the cart, which will give us the product as well as the quantity, right? And what we want to do is we want to return return a card element which will be used to displaying the products, okay, which have been added to the cart. But before that, let's destructure the product further. Let's pick all the fields that we need. So we need the title, we need the ID, the price, description, rating, and the image. Okay, all of this we are getting from the product. And here we will specify that we have a grid which is an item basically, and here what we want to do is we'll specify a key as the product ID, and within this let's add the card as well. So import card from material UI slash card. Okay, and here inside this we will be saying that we have a card, and this card has a card media, and the component associated with that is an image. So let's assign this, let's set this to img. Okay, and here what we want to say that is that the image associated with this is the value coming from this image, right? And let's give this some more styling. Okay, so we will say width equals theme, so we need to import the theme as well. So use theme, and we will say theme dot spacing. Let's give this some spacing, which is 30 times the default spacing, and similarly for the height as well. And we will say object fit, we'll set this to contain, and for the padding we will say theme dot spacing, whatever is the default spacing we will set that. Okay, so this is what we are seeing over here right now. Then we need to define the alternate for this. So that will be equal to the title of the product. Okay, so this is the first part. Then we need the card content as well. So we will say we'll get the card content, and this area we will use for displaying the contents of the card. So what we will do over here is let's import a box from here. And here we have the box component. Let's give this some styling, display flex, and flex direction we will set it to column, and let's give a gap of 2. Okay, and within the box let's use the typography element, Okay, so we'll use this one to display the title. Then we will have the rating component. So let's just do one thing. Let's go to the home component and let's just copy this and paste this here. And the next thing that we will be having is a form tag, and this will be displaying the quantity which has been added as well. So for that we will be using a text field. And here for the value of for this value of the text field, we'll specify it as the quantity that we are getting for associated with the product. Okay, rating is not defined. Okay, so we can see this information, right? The image, the the title, the rating, and the quantity. Label equals quantity. All right, so this basic is done, but what we want is we want this to occupy, I mean take up the entire row. All right, so let's style this further. Now here what we want to say is when we are at the top level grid, let's give some spacing between the grid items. So we are giving a spacing of 2. Then for this particular grid we are giving a spacing of 2 as well, and we're saying that this will take up 8 columns. Okay, and this particular one will take up 4 columns. Okay, so that both of them appear side by side. Then afterwards what we want to do is for this particular element we want to say that this takes up the entire space which is available to it. So we will say spacing, sorry, not spacing, we'll use the breakpoint. So we'll use the lowest breakpoint, and for that we'll set the value to 12. Okay, so a grid has 12 columns. So when we say we are defining how much space will a particular column take, so this entire column will take up the entire space which is available. Okay, then let's style the card. So here also we will say display flex. Then we want to say that um, the padding that it takes is, so we will say py is 2. Okay, so it's taking some padding vertically, and then we have the card media, and then we have the card content. Let's style this as well. So we are going to say sx, and display, we'll set that to flex, and we are going to say justify content space between. All right, and align items, you want everything to be centrally aligned. Okay, and Yeah, I think this is good enough for that. And then let's add another box over here. And then what we will do is we will add the typography element. We'll say variant equals h5. We are saying that this is a paragraph, and we want to display the product total over here, right? So let's write a function to display the subtotal. All right. So for that, let's go inside utils.js and let's create a function that we can use to calculate the subtotal. Okay. So function get subtotal. We'll pass the cart items over here, and then we'll say return cart items dot reduce. This will get the existing sum, and then we are getting the product as well as the quantity from the cart item, right? And what we want to do here is once we have this, we want to say that we want to do product dot price. We want to multiply that with the quantity, and then we want to add the previous sum to it. Okay, and this is what we want to do. And then the default value for sum is 0. Okay. All right, so basically we're going through all of the items in the cart and then multiplying the price of that item with its quantity and just calculating the total. Okay, so here let's add another typography element and let's display the subtotal. Get subtotal, and we'll pass this the cart items. All right, and similarly over here also we want to display the total for that product, right? So for that purpose we are adding, we'll reuse the same function here. We will say get subtotal, and we'll just pass the specific product and its quantity, right? So it's giving us 15.99, and here is giving us not a number. Let's see what's the problem. Get subtotal. Okay, I misspelled quantity over here. Quant. Wait. Let's rename this variable. We made a spelling mistake. Quantity. That is why it's not able to destructure it. All right. So here now we see the quantity as well as the cost for this. Then the other thing that we want to do over here is let's style the text field as well. So sx and here we will specify that the width for this element is theme dot spacing and the spacing of 8, or actually we can just specify 8 over here directly. Let's give this an id con dollar product. So we want to make use of the id and then product dash product id. Okay, and the type for this is number. Let's use the standard variant. All right, and let's specify a theme dot spacing 8 times of whatever is the default spacing. Okay, and let's also do one thing. It has a special property known as input props, right? We want to give a min and max for this. So within this we will say that the min value for this number is 0 and the max for this is 10. Okay, so at the max we can add 10 products and we cannot go below 0. Okay, so this is what we are doing over here. All right, so this styling is done to a certain extent. Where were we at this? Justify content, and we will say that the cart content takes up the entire remaining space. Okay, so this is how a single card is looking like. Okay, let's try and add some more items. So you can see that we are having multiple items over here and we are able to see their title, rating and the quantity. All right, let's style this a bit as well. We'll say the variant for this is h5, and the component that we'll be using, actually let's leave it to this. All right, so this looks better, this is more easier to read. All right, now let's start styling the part where we are uh, you know calculating the subtotal. Let's work on this part now. So here also we are saying that we have a grid item which is a container. It is taking up 4 spaces, and then when we are let's style the container over here and let's say display as flex, then we want all the content to be justified towards the center. All right, and inside this we are going to add a box, and inside the box we have a card. Okay, and let's move all of the typographies inside this card. So this is what this is looking like right now. Let's style this. We're going to say the width. This takes up 100% of the available width. And for the card, let's style this as well. So we are saying padding to display flex, and the flex direction is column over here. All right. And let's give a gap as well, gap of 2. So we have the subtotal, then we have the cart subtotal, right? Then the next thing that we want to check is, let's do one thing over here. Let's move this in a variable. Let's call it as subtotal, and let's calculate the value of that over here. And what we will be checking here is that if the subtotal is greater than 0, in that case we want to display a button over here with the text buy now. Otherwise we'll display another button with the text shop products. All right. So right now there are no items in the cart, so we are seeing this text shop products. Let's change the variant for this, and we'll set the variant to contained, and let's copy this value from here and do the same here as well. Okay, let's go back. Let's say add to cart, add to cart. Let's come back over here. Right now what you see is that we are seeing the items, uh, but if you notice over here, we clicked on this item twice. So instead of its quantity getting increased, this size is getting, it's added again over here. This is not what we want. What we want is that it should increase the quantity if the product already exists in the cart, right? So let's work on that functionality now. So for that purpose, what we will have to do is we will have to update the reducer that we had written for the cart. And what we will be doing is we will check const product and the quantity. We are getting this from the payload, right? So we'll say action.payload. Then what we want to do is we will check if there is an existing product, or rather, since we're inside the cart, let's call it as existing item. Then we will say state.value.find. We need to find a prod, right, where prod.id equals product that we are getting from the payload. If there is a product with the matching id, that means we have an existing item. And if we have an existing item, what we will do is we will just say existing item dot quantity plus equals 1. Okay, or we can just say over here equals whatever quantity that we are passing over here, we will just add that. Else we want to do this thing. All right, so let's come back over here. I am clicking on this twice. Let's go to our cart. I think something is wrong. I clicked on it once, I clicked on it again. Something is broken. Let's see. Cannot read properties of undefined reading ID. Let's see. State dot value dot find. Right. This is a product, and we need to give this an alias because this is what we are destructuring the cart items, right? So the name of that is product. We're giving this an alias prod. Okay. And now let's see. Let's say add to cart. Let me click on it again, and this I've added once. Let's go to the cart view, and you can see that the quantity is 2 for this one and the quantity for this one is 1. Now let's work on this logic where we are increasing and decreasing this quantity, and accordingly it should update the price and the subtotal. Okay. Let's go inside the cart view. And another thing that we want to do over here is that we want to set this to a fixed decimal value. We'll set it to 2. So it was showing all the values in up to 2 decimal points. And let's work on the logic where we are changing the uh, quantity. So on change handle quantity update, and here what we will do is we will say that, or rather let's just say update quantity. Let's create a function with the same name, and what we will do over here is we will accept the event, and we'll also pick up the product as well as the quantity of the product on which we are whose quantity we are updating. So what we will do here is we'll get the event object, and we'll call update quantity with the event object as well as the product and its quantity. Okay, right, and here we will add our logic that uh, const quantity updated quantity equals event dot target dot uh, input as, sorry, value as number, and we want to check if updated quantity is less than the quantity of the original product. In that case we want to reduce the cart, or remove that product from the cart, remove from cart. Otherwise we want to dispatch the action of adding that product into the cart. So we'll say const dispatch equals use dispatch from React Redux hooks, and here we'll say dispatch add to cart, right? And we want to add the product. Yeah, let's just pass that over here. So as I am increasing the count for this, you can see that the quantity is increasing as well as the price here and here. Okay. And let's write the logic for removing an item from the cart. Let's go inside the function here, cart slice. Let's add a new reducer, remove from cart. This will also get the state as well as the action. And here we will say that const product equals not action dot payload. So we are getting the product from the payload. And what we want to do here is we want to check if this item exists or not. So we'll say const existing. So let's find this item by its index. So we'll say state dot value dot find index, and we want to find such a product. So let's just copy this entire thing from here. So we want to find a product with the matching ID, and we will check if index is greater than -1, right? That means it's an existing product. We'll check, we'll get the existing item. So that is state dot value at the index that we found. And here we will check if existing item dot quantity equals 1, right? That means we need to remove this product entirely from the cart. So we'll say state dot value dot splice the index of the item that we want to remove, and how many items do we want to remove after that. So only just one item we want to remove. Otherwise, it's uh, it's an existing product and its quantity is greater than 1. So we will say existing item dot quantity minus equals 1. Okay, or let's just specify over here quantity. Okay, so this is the remove from cart function. Let's add this over here, remove from cart, and we want to dispatch this action from here. So we'll say dispatch remove from cart, and we will pass it the product that we want to remove. Requested module does not provide named remove from cart. Let's see. All right, let's come over here. Let's add some products. And when we're clicking on this, the value is increasing, and when I'm clicking on this, the value is being reduced. And once I'm completely removing this item should get removed from the cart. So that is what exactly happened over here. The previous item, when we reduced its value, it was removed from the cart. Okay. And so this is how we have been able to modify the items, right? Now what we want to do is now this is showing the text buy now, right? So when we click on buy now, it should take us to the checkout page. All right, so let's do that over here. But before we do that, where is it? The price. Okay, so we're calling the get subtotal. Whatever is the result returned by it, we want to set that to fixed as well and to decimal places. So this is what is being shown here. Then here we have the button buy now and shop products. So on click of shop products, we want to say uh, go to home, and here we want to say on click check out items. Let's create those two functions here. Function go to home, and here we will say we'll use the navigate hook. Navigate equals use navigate, and we want to navigate to the home route, so we'll say navigate slash, and here we will specify function check out items navigate, and we want to navigate to the checkout page. Let's create a page with the same name, checkout.jsx, and react functional component rfc. Okay, checkout. Okay, let me click on buy now. So it's okay. I forgot to add the route for it. Let's go inside app and let's add a route for this slash checkout. And here we want to get the checkout component. Okay. So you can see that we can see the text checkout. Now what we want to do is whenever we are clicking on buy now, we want to ensure that the user is logged in. Otherwise, if they're not logged in, we want to ensure that they log into the system. Okay. Uh, but before we get into all of that, just want to ensure that we have styled it correctly. Let's go inside the, where is it? Cart variant. Yeah, I had misspelled this. Okay. Yeah, H5 and H4. Okay, let's open this. You want to say pnpm dev. Let's refresh. So when we click on shop products, it should take us to the home page, which it is. Let's add something to the cart. And when we click on buy now, it is taking us to the checkout page. But what we want is when we click on buy now, we want to ensure that the user is logged in. In order to provide the user management functionality, we'll be making use of Firebase. All right, so let's see how we can add Firebase to our project. So for that, we will go to this site console.firebase.google.com, and let's click on add project. Let's call it as dn3 streams e e-commerce. Okay, we don't want analytics for this, so I'm disabling this. Let me click on create project. It will take some time to create the project. So while it is doing that, let's take a short break, and if you guys have any doubts, you can ask me in the comments. Now once the project has been added, let's click on continue, and we want to add a new app inside this. So we will select this icon. Since we want to create a web-based application, we'll click on web. Let's give this a name, e-commerce. If you want to set up Firebase hosting, you can do that from here, but we'll skip this part. So we'll just say register app. Now here it's giving us instructions as to how to install Firebase. So let's install Firebase now. So I'll say npm add Firebase. So this will add the package for Firebase, and let's copy the code which they have provided to set up the app. Let's create a folder here. Let's go inside source. Let's create a folder called Firebase, and let's create a file auth.jsx, and let's add this logic over here. So this is the default configuration code which is provided by Firebase, so that we are able to communicate with the app which we just created. Okay, so this will allow us to authenticate ourselves with the project that we have created. Now we're interested in the what do you say, the authentication part of Firebase. So let's click on continue to console, and let's go inside the app, right? um, yeah, sorry, we need to click on authentication, and let's click on get started. And there are different options available over here, like you can authenticate yourself using Google, like we have that option, right? Sign in with Google or Facebook or Apple, Microsoft, whatever. You can choose any one of these, but for right now what we will do is we'll use the email password option. Let's click on enable, and let's click on save. Okay, now this has been enabled. Let's go inside authentication. Okay, and here it is showing us this option. We can add a user over here manually, or we can set up the process. uh, so what we will do is let's create one user over here. Let's use temp mail, temp tempmail.org. This will generate a random email ID for us, and it will give us an inbox also. Let's copy this. Let's create a user, and let's give the password test123. Okay, so this user has been added, and we'll use this user to authenticate ourselves. to log in inside the app. Let's work on the login functionality now. So what we will do is Firebase authentication gives us a large number of methods, and we want to expose all of those methods using a custom hook. All right. So we'll create a custom hook that will provide all the functionality associated with the user, and we will make that available throughout the app. Okay. So what we will be doing here is we'll get the auth functionality. So we'll say const auth equals get auth. This is a function which is coming from the Firebase auth package. So we'll say import something from Firebase slash auth. Okay. And we want to import the get auth function, and we pass this the app. Okay, the app which we had created, and we want to access the authentication module from the app. All right. And here what we will be doing next is we will create a context. Auth context uh, equals create context from the React. We'll set this value to null initially, and then what we will be doing here is that we'll create a auth provider. Okay, so we'll say function use provide auth. Okay, we'll create a custom hook, and here we will get the user from we'll add the user to a state. So we'll say use state, and then we have all the functionality coming from Firebase associated with a user, such as sign up, sign in, log out, etc. So let's expose all of those functionalities through a custom hook, and we'll use this context to return the value provided by this hook so that it is available throughout the app. Let's work on this now. So let's create a function const sign up equals the sign up function will get the email, password, and a display name as the parameters. Then what this function will do is this will call a method of Firebase auth, which is create username with email and password. Okay, and to this we will pass the email address and the password that this function is getting. Once that happens, we should have access to the user object. If this has been done successfully, we will have access to the user object. Then we will use another function of Firebase auth, which is update profile, and we will pass the user whose profile we want to update, and we want to update the display name. Okay, and then once this is done, we will say set user to user. All right, and this will return the user object as well. Then similarly, similar to sign up, we have sign in. So we have sign in equals uh, sign in with email and password. This is a function which we are getting from the Firebase auth project package, and we'll pass this the I mean, this function will get the username, email, and the password, and then this will call the function with this, and here what we are saying is that we'll pass it the email and the password. Once we have that, we will just update the user over here. So this will also give us access to the user object, and we'll say set user with the user which was just signed in. Okay, and we will return the user object also with this function. Then the next thing that we want to do is we want to sign out the user, right? So we'll say sign out user, and we will just call the sign out function from Firebase auth. We'll pass the auth object, and actually here also we needed to pass the auth object for all of these, right? This auth object, because this identifies that uh, we're trying to use this authentication functionality which is associated with this object, right? So we sign out. Once the sign out is successful, then what we are saying basically that we want to call set user, and we want to set the existing user to null, and we want to do, so we have done all of this part. Then we have a use effect as well, and we'll use this effect to keep track of any changes that happen to the user, right? So what we will do is we will subscribe to an event, const unsubscribe equals on auth state changed. We use the auth object and we will get the user, right? Whenever there is any change to the user, we check over here whether the user is defined, then we say set user, uh, and whatever the value of user that we're getting over here, we'll do that. Otherwise we say set user and we'll set it with null. Okay, and then this will return a cleanup function. So we will unsubscribe whenever this hook is unmounted. Okay, so this allows us to unsubscribe from this event. So this event basically any changes that happen to the user object. For example, um, the user is re-authenticated, so in that case this functionality would get called, and then we would be uh, basically updating the user with that updated information. Okay, and then we are finally unsubscribing from it. Now since this is a hook, this needs to return an object, so we are returning all of these functions which we have created. So sign up, and then sign up, right? And then sign out, sign user, sign out user, and then finally the user object which is associated with this state. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to expose the value returned by this hook throughout the app. So for that purpose we'll create a provider. So we will say over here auth provider equals, this will return a function, and this will accept the children prop, right? And what we want to do is we want to create uh, a context. So use provide auth, and we are going to say return auth context dot provider. The value is the auth object that we are getting from this hook, right? And we want to wrap, so this will encapsulate all the children which are inside it. So all the child items which are inside this provider, nested inside this provider, they will have access to the auth object returned by this hook. Okay, so then we'll be able to easily uh, handle all the user related functionality through the context. Okay, and then what we will do is we'll create another hook const use auth equals use context, and we'll pass the auth context here. So we'll be able to access all of the values using this hook, right? And then what we want to do is basically encapsulate the entire app with this hook. So we will say auth provider. So I need to actually export that. So export default auth provider, and then here we will say import auth provider from dot slash firebase slash auth. Okay, and here we will say auth provider, and we will wrap all of this inside the auth provider. Okay, uh, so we have provided the context for the app, so it should have access to the user object. Let's see if there are any errors. Does not provide an export name default. Okay, I forgot to save this. Let's try now. Okay, everything is working fine now. uh, let's create the login and the registration pages. Let's come over here. Let's create a new page, login.jsx. Oh wait, it's already there. um, so what we want to do is whenever we, where is the app? Yeah, so the login is separate from this, right? It should not come inside here, right? If I say login, it should not be shown here with this view. So what we will do is we will move this route outside, and since we are moving this outside and React cannot have multiple root elements, we are moving this inside a fragment, and now we have the login view. Okay, now let's work on the login page. All right, for that purpose, what I will do is I'll just copy some of the components which are already there with me, uh, so that just to save time, I'm copying this. Okay, and now let's work on the functionality. So we have a container here, and the component is main, and the max width for this is the extra small size, right? And then we're using CSS baseline here to normalize and get rid of all of the padding and margin and all of the browser specific styles. Let's create a box, and the box has some default styling. So margin top, we are going to say theme, not here, theme context. We'll say const theme equals use theme from React material UI, and we will say theme dot spacing and the spacing of 8. Then display flex direction as column. I need to close this box. Pane is not defined. Okay. Then the other thing that we want to do here is that we want to say that we want to align the items to the center. Okay. And within the box, let's add the avatar, and we want to display the locked out lock outline icon inside the avatar, something like this. And let's style this. So SX, we want to give this a margin, so M1, and then background color, we want to use the color from the theme palette. We want to access the secondary and use the main color, so we have this color now. Then afterwards we want to display some text. Okay, so for that purpose we will use the typography. We will say the component that is being used is h1, and the variant equals h5. Okay, and we want to display the text over here, sign in. Okay, then we'll create a form over here, and let's give this styling. We'll say that this takes up 100% of the width which is available to it, and let's say margin top of 1. And inside this form we will have all the text fields, and another attribute that we want to use here is that never mind, we'll have a text field over here. So the variant is outlined. We'll say margin equals normal. This particular field is required. Okay, let's add some more attributes here. full width, and what else? The ID for this is email. The name is email as well, and we want to say auto focus, right? So the moment you come inside this, the focus should automatically go inside this text box. Okay, and we will say autocomplete equals off. We are setting the autocomplete to off for this field. Let's have another text field over here with a similar styling. Let's call this as password. The name is also password, and the type is password as well. Let's set the type for this one as email. Okay, so when we set the type as password, we are getting this, it's masked. Okay, all right. And for the autocomplete, we will say current password, so that you get this Google suggestion box. Okay, all right. Then let's add a button type equals submit, and we want to display the text over here as sign in. Okay, and let's provide the variant for this. So the variant is contained, we are saying full width, and saying color equals primary, and the let's give this a margin. So m margin theme dot spacing 3 0 and then 2. Okay, so we have this sign in page available, and we want to say justify content. Yeah, not this. All right, so the sign in page is ready. Now what we want to do is whenever we click on this button, right, uh, it should it should trigger the submit function associated with the form. So we will say on submit login. Okay, let's create a function over here, function login, and this will get the event object. We want to prevent the default, so we'll say event dot prevent default, right? And what we want to do here is that when the user is logging in, right, we want to get the values of the email and the password. All right, but before we do that, let's provide the labels over here, email and label password, label. All right, so we have the labels and the password as well. um, then what we want to do is const email comma password equals event dot target, which is nothing but the form, And then we will say we make use of the hook that we created, const sign in. We're getting this from the use auth hook that we had created. So use auth. Okay, I think we forgot to import it. Sorry, export this. So export const use auth, and here we will import this. Okay, and here what we want to do is we want to await the result of sign in. We will say email dot value and password dot value, and if this is successful, we want to navigate to the home screen. Okay, since this is asynchronous, we need to use the async keyword. And then what we will do is we need to navigate, so we'll use the navigate hook, and here we will say navigate. We want to navigate to the home route. All right, we had created one user, right? Let's copy the user, and let's try and log in. The password was test123, and we click on sign in. So it just refreshed the form. Let's see what happened. On submit login, and then oh wait, we need to have this as the first statement, and the use auth hook needs to come here. Okay, let's try again, test123. So the login was successful and it has taken us inside this view, right? uh, then what we want to do is here we want to show up the logged in user's name. Let's make some changes here. Let's go inside the header component. All right, and here what we will be doing is let's make some changes. So after this, what we want to do is we want to check if the user is there. So we'll get the user first of all from the use auth hook. So it returns a user as well, use auth, and then we will check over here if the user is there. Right, we will say user dot display. We will return a button with the text um, user. If we have the display name, we will show the display name, otherwise we will show the email. Okay, and similarly, if the user is not there, then we will show this login button. So right now we are not seeing anything. User from use. If user is there, Let's just check what is the value that we're getting associated with this component. Let's click on inspect and let's go inside components. So this is rendered by the header and this is the auth. So we have information associated with the user, which is here we have the email and the display name is set to null. So what seems to be the issue? So ideally it should be showing the email. Let's see if we have missed something here. I think we need to give color as inherit. I think that is the issue. Let's see. Yeah. So that was the reason why we were not able to see that text. And now you can see since we have logged in, we are seeing the logged in users, what do you say, information, email ID. Okay. So this functionality is working as well. Whoever is the user logged in, we are seeing their username basically over here. And let's just add this text as well. Hello. All right. And let's give this some more spacing. So we'll say flex spaces equals 180 pixel, for example. So this is not enough. Let's set this to say around 250 or 300. Let's try and increase this a bit more. It's still going into 2 lines. Okay. All right. So now we're seeing the user's username as well as the card. Now we are logged in. And what we want to do here is that whenever we click on this, right, it should show up a menu item basically. And we should be able to log out as well. So let's work on that functionality now. So for that, what we will do is we'll create an element which will basically be responsible for uh, displaying that menu. Okay. So for that purpose, this will have a menu component. Okay, and we specify where we want to anchor this. So we will say anchor element, and we need to create an anchor element as well. So const uh, let's use the use state snippet over here, anchor element, and we'll set it to null initially, and we will pass the anchor element reference here. And what we want to do is, let's give this an id equals user profile menu, and we want to keep this mounted, and let's specify a transform origin. So we want this pop-up to be shown from the horizontally. So we are just specifying how the pop-up needs to be positioned. So horizontal, we want it towards the right, and vertically also towards the bottom. And then there's another property known as anchor origin. Let's just copy this and paste this here, and we want to say this is right, and sorry, this needs to be vertical top and this needs to be bottom. uh, we need another variable, so const is menu open equals boolean of the anchor element. So if we have an anchor element, right, this will be set to true. Okay, so then we need to say open, we will set this to is menu open variable, and on close handle menu close. So let's create a function over here, function handle menu close, and what this will do is set anchor element to null. Okay, and to open the menu we'll say handle profile menu open. So we get the event object and we will say set anchor e dot current target. Okay, and within this we will have menu items. So menu item, three of these, which is profile, then my account, and then logout. Okay, and let's link this to this function on click, handle profile menu open, right, and whenever we click on this we want to say on click handle menu close. This should basically close the menu, and the same thing should happen for the profile. We are not implementing the functionality for these two, but we'll implement the functionality for logout. So on click uh, function logout and here we will say um, we'll use the auth object, and we'll call the sign out function. So sign out, we await for this, and then we basically navigate to the login page if we have signed out. And when we click on sign out, we say, sorry, log out, we call the logout function. Okay, so let's click on this. Right, what we need to do is we need to display the menu, right? So let's create a fragment here, and after the app bar, let's render the menu. And now you can see that when we click on this, it is opening this menu. Now these two will just close the menu, right? And when we click on logout, it should take us to the login screen. So this functionality is working as well. Okay, and let's work on the registration page right now. But before we do that, let's complete the functionality of the checkout, where we were trying to achieve that if the user is not logged in, we will force the user to log in. So for that purpose, what we will do is we will be creating a protected route. So let's go inside app.js, and here what we will be doing is we will create a protected route. So function protected route, this will accept children, and here what we will do is we will get the user from the use auth hook, and we will check if user is there. Actually, if the user is not there, then we will make use of the navigate component from React Router DOM, and we will navigate to the login screen. Okay, and this is what we want to return. Otherwise, we return the children. All right, and here since this is the protected route, right, we will wrap this component inside the protected route component, and we will move the checkout functionality in here. Now let's sign in with this user that we have registered. Okay, uh, let's add items to the cart. Let's click on buy now, and since we are logged in, it is taking us to checkout. Now let's come back over here. Let me log out. Let's go back to the page here. Let's add some items to the cart. Let's go to the cart. Let's click on buy now, which should take us to the checkout page, but right now we are not logged in. Okay, let's click on buy now. Now instead of taking us to the checkout page, since we are not logged in, the protected route functionality checked, it found that there is no user available, then it took us to the login screen instead. So we have made it mandatory that in order to view the checkout screen, you need to be logged in, right? Because that page will have a regular website like, or an e-commerce website like Amazon or Flipkart or eBay, whenever you go for buying an item, they try to ensure that you are logged in. So that is the functionality that we were trying to achieve. So I hope you guys are finding this interesting, that you know, we are able to work with Firebase auth. We are able to log in. Once we are logged in, we are able to check, we are able to display the information associated with the user, and we are checking if the user is logged in. uh, then only we go to the checkout page. Otherwise we go to the login page, right? Okay. Then so this part is done, and let's do one thing. Let's stop here. Let's end the session here. Then tomorrow we'll work on the uh, registration page, and then we'll add some more functionality as well. Okay, so let's stop here. If you guys have any doubts, you can ask me in the Discord voice channel, and we'll end the session here. Take care, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. About the timing, it will be informed in the Discord channel, okay? But mostly it will be somewhere around 6 p.m. IST. So there's a doubt about how we set up Firebase, right? So I'll cover that in the doubt session. All right, I'll see you there. Take care. Bye.